in Bangladesh also. So there's a memory also in Bangladesh. So yeah, those are the ones.
But then when you went to that trip just to have fun, you talked about experience, a trip when you just had fun.
Yeah,
Was that Thailand?
Thailand. Yeah,
Thailand. What was the highlight there?
there actually we had a lot of drinks and we've been traveling. We've been going here and there, shopping, and also yeah, Thailand is known for having so much of fun in many ways. So of course, so it's good. It's good, but we had a good time. Almost we haven't had a sleep. We were having so much of walks, seeing sights and seeing areas like that. And also Malaysian trip also one of the trip that I enjoyed. I went to an island called Penang in Malaysia, and yeah,
What happened there?
that was actually also a kind of a business trip as well as a kind of casual trip to meet one of the suppliers of missionary suppliers. It's kind of business also, but both together, I had a good time, good food, good.
Did you do good business?
Yes, yes, good business.
Lot of money?
Yeah, that was.
No, no. Kidding.
It was, yeah, it was good. It was good business. It was a success. It was a success.
Okay.
But that was nice, and yeah.
It gave you stars in the protocol for your boss.
Yes, of course. Yes, that has happened, and then of course, then Bangladesh trip I'll talk next.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're saving the best.
Yes, yes. That was another. What's next in your list?
You're stressing me. Next in my list. Well, that must be when another of my another of my grandchildren, the second one that came, okay. Annie. She is now 9.5 years. But the thing is that when she was born, something happened inside me.
She born in Italy, right?
No, she is born in Sweden, Malmö, southwest of Sweden.
Okay.
Because my daughter was working as a nurse.
All right.
She had studied in Lund and Malmö, and she had got work as a nurse, dentist nurse, and Annie was born at the hospital there.
In Malmö.
In Malmö. And it was that evening I knew that she had went to the hospital to give birth. I have contact with a friend that was with her, a woman that also gave birth to children, but she didn't assist or that, but she was with her. The father hadn't come yet from Italy, Alessandro. He was on his way. But that evening I was walking here in the house, some confused thing. But then later in the evening, at about 11, we had a storm here in Kalmar, and it was a really, really hard storm. It was blowing, and it was raining, and thundering. The lightning came when, if you take about, the time was 23:15 something. The lightning came every 10-15 seconds in the sky. So it was very dramatic. And I felt inside myself something building up. And I know exactly that at 23:25, I went out on my altan, looking at the sky, seeing those lightnings and the storm, and I just felt that I had to scream.
You were nervous or something?
Out in the garden. What did you say?
You were nervous or something?
No, I don't say that I was nervous. I was just excited of something that was forceful inside me. And I screamed just right out into the garden, and I started to cry, and I was exhausted, so I sat down on the steps out to the garden and just crying, and not because I was sad, just because I was so excited. And it went on for 5-10 minutes, that feeling, and I just felt, I didn't think anything, and that was around 23:30. But what makes the story a story that I remember is that a few hours later, say 3 o'clock in the night, I got a message from this friend, an SMS, that told me that Annie was born at the time 23:35.
So at the time that you were having the mixed feelings,
That was the same time that she was on her way out.
wow. So there's a
So,
connection.
yeah, my thinking is that I felt so strongly because I felt her suffering coming out. And it's more than just a coincidence. As I told you about the baptizing of Adrian, it was something mysterious about the whole thing. And then the storm and that went down, and it was a regular day. But I must say, I have promised my daughter not to go to Malmö immediately, just to leave the family because Alessandro was coming in the morning. Leave them alone so they could be family. But the first thing I did in the morning,
You went there.
I took the first train down. But that's another story. My first meeting with my second grandchild. That's a story for itself. That trip. Maybe I can talk about. Shall I tell it now?
Yes, you can.
It's
Yes.
not too long. Well, I went away and came to Malmö, and I came to the department where they give birth, and they said, "Yes, we have had your daughter here, but
Okay.
they moved during the night
Uh-huh.
to Lund, and that's a town just 2 miles, 20 kilometers something from Malmö, where they had places like a kind of newborn family hotel for after care. So I went away maybe around 10 o'clock. I went away by train to Lund and came to the same department that give birth, rang on the bell, and I had telephoned my daughter before, so I knew that they were in Lund, and I rang and I telephoned her first, so it was, and said that now I'm here. I'm outside the door. Can you come and open? And she said, "But Papa, you're in the wrong place. We are not at that department. We are at the newborn families hotel, and that's not the same place that you are." So I went out, and we said that we should meet at the cafeteria at the entrance of the hospital. So when I was going to the entrance, I saw this little family coming.
Oh, okay. And you were happy.
Alessandro, yes, Alessandro driving the chair with the child, and they are in front of me going to the cafeteria, and I just stopped and walked slowly behind them. And then when they had seated down in the cafeteria, I came in, and they got got me Annie so I could held her, and that was also a fine feeling.
Great feeling.
Yeah, and I was very tired. I hadn't slept anything. At the end, we met, and that was only 12 hours after her birth.
Yeah. That feeling drives you there.
Yeah.
You wanted to go and see her.
Yeah, and I got excused by my daughter. I told her that I couldn't stay at home. I couldn't. I just had to see her. So I was the first one, besides the family, to help her.
That was a nice story.
I will tell her next time to see her. For now, she is 9.5, and she's ready to hear that story.
Great. And coming back to, yeah, that's a great story. And shall I tell mine? One of mine?
Yes, please do.
Yeah. And this is in COVID time. As I was saying earlier, I was in Bangladesh. I went there actually because of my job. I had to go there. And before COVID, just before COVID, there was like nothing so much of a rush about this COVID matter, but there were like here and there stories you can hear, news and stuff, small, messages and news. Then while I was here, suddenly it actually the COVID matter exploded like everywhere in the world. It suddenly boomed, and patients and people are dying and everything happening. Suddenly, what my thought was I have to go back to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to stay here. And suddenly I booked tickets back to Sri Lanka. I was in Chittagong, which far away from the main city, Dhaka. Dhaka was having the airport, and I asked my driver to drive me there. Then at that moment, I was starting to drive. In Bangladesh, they put on the curfew, and then also I heard I booked tickets and everything. Then I heard in Sri Lanka they have shut down the airport. So I was in the middle of this thing happening, and then
Yes.
uh, even before I go to Dhaka, in middle there's a place called Naranjon city. I was stuck, and I actually went into one of my colleagues, workmates, another manager, his apartment, and he had two rooms in his apartment. And yeah, that's it.
You were isolated there.
Yes, I was isolated. Me and myself and my friend, the colleague, and we were stuck in Bangladesh for like 3 months.
Oi.
We went outside. You know how hard it is to get items and food. We had to send our, the helpers, the people who was working for us, and we had to go in by ourselves to buy stuff and cook by ourselves. I think I had got COVID like few times that time also, Bangladesh, and that memory was so, I think, so scary and awful because I just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
And I just don't want. I thought I just don't want to die here. I just want to just go home, and even I die, I just want to die in Sri Lanka. And yeah, after 3 months, we were hearing the airport will be open up soon for people to come to Sri Lanka, and then we, because since I booked my ticket earlier, also we pushed our tickets to the first flight to Sri Lanka from Bangladesh. Yeah, luckily my name came up in the list because they had made the list. Yeah, prioritize. And then the first flight I got my chance to go into Sri Lanka. And then quarantine. In quarantine, I had to stay another 2 months in a camp, military camp.
Not at home.
No. So it was a kind of a experience which you can't forget, a memory which you can't forget.
Nearly half a year.
Yeah, half a year gone to COVID without seeing your loved ones, family, and then I was really glad after even quarantine to go home and stay. Even after going home, we were just self quarantined and isolated at home. You can't go out and stuff in Sri Lanka. So
But
that's
then you were with your family.
yes, that was really nice. I am back home, and I was back home. That was a experience which you can't forget, which I can't forget.
No, that was a tough one.
Tough one, yeah. It was like a story between life and death.
But it does something with you inside, those kind of experience.
Yeah. It gave me a kind of morale boost and how to react on a crisis like that, how to handle a crisis like that, and how to face and how to be strong.
I imagine also what is important in life.
Exact. You can see, you get splashes of your memories and splashes of your life. Once you think of next morning you will be here or not, next thing you will live or not, then you
That's right.
had so much of flashing your memories and flashing your loved ones' faces and everyone's faces that you know. That's quite an experience that I can't forget. Yeah, I learned a lot to self-sustain in a crisis like that and to face a crisis like that, even not in your country, in another country where unknown place, alone.
And we in Sweden we didn't have so strict rules. That differed a lot from other countries, and we were criticized a lot
I remember,
because
yeah.
of that. You
I
may
heard,
have heard.
I heard the news
But
that Sweden didn't care about uh, having mask or something like that.
yes, we did. We had rules. We had rules about masks and like that, especially in public places and when you were out meeting people and at work. For instance, I worked at a hospital, as you know, I'm a doctor, and there were very strict rules about having masks and not touching each other and having a distance. I think it was arm length, about 2 meters, for instance. And even in public, you couldn't go into stores and, for instance, how many as you wanted. It was counted by square meters. The rest had to stay outside, and there were guards looking after, so it was not too many inside. But we didn't have like house arrest.
All right, we had.
And I know in Italy they had even to pay money if they broke those rules.
The fines.
Yeah, that's right. So it was much more free in that way.
In Sri Lanka, we had strict rules, even managed by army, military. But our people actually obeyed that rules, at least 90%. Not like in, I think there were issues in other countries to maintain,
America.
and also India next door. They had issues, managing people. But our people were really good, I think, following the rules, but there were hiccups. And one thing I just want to tell you, in Bangladesh, because we were inside, myself and my workmate, colleague, and there's a way of making toddy, toddy.
Yeah, yeah.
So we bought coconut water, and yeast, and mixed it and made alcohol to drink.
You fermented.
Yeah, fermented,
So
and
it's
we
like
wanted to get dope, drunk. There was a huge issue in Sri Lanka and in these countries, people to find alcohol and cigarettes because they want to drink, because they're at home, they are with their wives, and get bored and stuff. Even for us, also back in Bangladesh, we both wanted to have something to drink and have some time. We made ourselves also some homemade toddy.
It's one way to survive.
Yeah, that's unforgettable memory that I had. Yes.
Yeah.
And is there anything next with your list?
Well, I have a few. I made a trip through Russia.
Russia. Huh.
Yeah, by train, the Trans-Siberian
I heard it. I
Rail.
heard of it. Yes.
The true one, the classical one, goes from Moscow to Novosibirsk on the east coast of Russia.
East Coast. Okay.
Yeah, then you can take a boat over to Japan, for instance.
Okay.
But the trip we took was from where we started in Kalmar.
Okay.
Went to Helsinki and then to St. Petersburg, and then we made a stop in Moscow to take the Trans-Siberian Railway the next day. But our goal was Peking. Peking. The main county of
Peking.
Peking. And we started day one, and there was some peculiar things on that trip. We did that trip to find out if we were going to write a book or not, me and my friend. We had an idea of making a book explaining the problems with elderly care.
All right.
And I was the secretary. So I had a colleague book with me to write in.
Right.
And the thing was to get ideas, brainstorming about what this book should contain. That was the work we had to do. And we choose Trans-Siberian because then you stay at the train all the way.
Okay.
And it's a fascinating travel. It's hours after hours without seeing anything but the plain. No trees, no houses, nothing. For I think 2-3 days.
No.
But it was another thing, and that was that the time was confusing us. Because in Sweden we had summertime, and in Russia it was Russian time, you can say. And on the train it was all the way, it was Moscow time.
Moscow.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the fourth, you pass those lines where the time is changing.
Oh, the zones.
The zones, yes. So it was 6 zones of those outside the train. So when we tried to send a message or something home to Sweden, we had to figure out what time is it in Sweden. We have Moscow time on the train. We had the summer time in Sweden, and we passed the 1, 2, or had we passed 4 zones. So
Okay.
that made us very confused. And after, say, half the way, we just had to go off the train. The
Oh.
ticket you can go on and off. So we got off the train at half the way just to take in an hotel
Okay.
to sleep because we had reversed the day. The breakfast was in the evening, vice versa.
Uh-huh.
So we spent one day that, and then we got on the train again. And at that time, I had filled my colleague block with brainstorming ideas. So I had nothing to write on. But in the restaurant wagon, if you can call it like that, it was like a simple cafe, but they had clean your mouth and like that, servets. So I took a pile of those servets. Luckily, I made a figure on each one from 1 and up. So when we came to Peking, I had 72 with new ideas.
All right.
So luckily, I numbered them so I could write them down later. But we had so much material that we decided that we should write the book that came out 1 year after.
Okay. Was it a success?
Yeah, we had 3 editions, so it was quite successful. But it was not really why we wrote it. We had to write it because it was like criticism of the systems we have in Sweden about how we take care of elderly, and it felt good to write it down. Yeah. And why Peking? The day after we came to Peking, our wives came from Sweden to Peking because before we had joined kind of charter. It was a cultural China charter. So they came with that charter from Sweden, and we joined them at the hotel that they stayed at.
Okay.
So then we were together. I think the group was 25 people. And then we started a 2-week journey all over China, flying to the south, flying to the middle of China, also flying to Hong Kong and back. And that was also a very experienced and good trip. Learned a lot about China history. And you know the China Wall we visit, and also the Terracotta Army. They had digged out an army with horses and soldiers, hundreds of them, that they had made for some important emperor. When they buried the emperor, he also had his army with him down in the grave.
So that's one.
That was a life experience, that trip.
Great. So those are some highlight reels of our lives. So we think you have enjoyed it, our stories. We would like to bring time to time of those aspects also, those events.
And also, if you want to send us some of your experiences, do that on the chat that we have. Don't forget to subscribe. You help us to spread our news.
Yes. So thank you very much for staying with us.
Really.
And have a nice day and nice week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.